So what I wanted to share with all of you, and partly because this has not been an easy few months, it's not been an easy few years. And it's just going to get a little more hectic, I think, with the holiday season, and especially after having such a dampened celebration last year. In some ways, I think our expectations are both a little higher this year and a little bit burdened with making up for lost times. I don't know if that resonates with you, but I just wanted to review. Now, this is a program that I actually created, but it's mainly just an idea starter. So can you see my slide? Yes, you can all see that. Okay. So for you, what makes the holiday season, and really whether it starts, with the beginning of the new school year, whether it goes through January or goes through the whole winter, I'm not really so concerned about what you define as the brackets, but we're entering into the thick of it, this changing from the seasons, right? The solstice, we're still moving towards more and more darkness right now, which can be challenging on more levels. So what makes this season, this enter into winter combined with the holiday, combined with the reopening of the world, what is making this, or what are you anticipating might make this season challenging for you? Okay. So that sounds like it's a little bit tweaked in the sense that you are still making some effort, but you're not getting it reciprocated.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is, well, clarify this for me, Chrissy, is the challenge, how do you sustain that level of commitment or let go of the drive for that commitment?
The challenge that I'm working on is the letting go of it.
Nice. Do you see
Yep.
the difference with that, guys?
Yeah.
Ooh, big difference. Big difference in how that is an energy investment as opposed to an energy drain.
And it takes a lot. It takes so much, feels like it takes so much more to let go of it, because I constantly keep letting go of it. It's letting go of expectations, letting go of this is the way I thought things were going to be. And,
absolutely. That is the nature of letting go, right? It's a choice every single time the idea comes back into your head, just like the choice to return to the anchor in our meditation practice. Right? That's why I'm asking you to clarify what your anchor is, so that you can come back to that anchor when this feeling shows up. We want to choose from our choices. We want to choose from our values until our feelings catch up with those values, because we can't rely on our feelings, right?
Yes.
Nice. All right, James, question for you. What makes this season challenging for you?
So I'm kind of in the middle on this whole getting darker thing. In the morning, it feels like a great rush of like, I'm at work and it's not even sunrise yet. This is great. I'm really getting the day, but it's the same time I would normally start. So I feel really motivated in the morning, but then as it starts to get darker earlier at night, I'm really bummed out because I feel like the night's over. The rest of my day is having to wind down because the sun went down. And it's not really true, but it feels like I start to power down when the sun goes down.
But it is true, right? In the sense that we make different decisions when the sun gets darker. I mean, the reason that we have daylight savings time extended to 9 months of the year is because businesses market for it. They advocate for it because we spend more money when the sun is still visible.
This one.
Maybe not you, Chrissy, because you don't leave the house, right? But think about it in the sense that if you're already out and about and you want to make a stop at the grocery store or at the wherever, are you more likely to do that when the sun is still up? Yeah, most of us are, as opposed to staying out longer. And Chrissy, we already know that you're a bit of an anomaly in that.
I know, and it's crazy. I love this, seeing other people. I know I'm this outlier, and I know this, I'm the anomaly. I love seeing people who fit in this circle that I go, I don't know about that circle. Like I'm on the edge of it, and it's just fascinating. Like yeah.
That's where your curiosity really kicks in big, isn't it?
It does, because I'm like, what is that like to like the summer and to like
So James, what does that mean for your challenge?
It's harder to feel motivated when there's more darkness.
Okay, good.
To work in my other room. So I'm like, I get to my desk and it's dark outside and I'm like, man, I'm at work, I'm doing my job before
So
the
the
assignment
hit,
comes. So
the
it's like
hit is
tricking
coming
myself.
that it feels like you're there early, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's going to be interesting, James, is that daylight savings time ends this weekend. And is that going to skew with you come Monday and this hit that you're getting of look at me, I'm here early. So you need to potentially prepare for that on Friday when you wrap up, maybe even leaving yourself a little note on your screen that says you're here on time or whatever, right? That external validation is great, but it's not the end all be all. We have to cultivate that internal affirmation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Any feedback, any comments or observations from the other two? Yeah, Chrissy.
How could you bring light into your life?
Well, I mean, Christmas lights are on sale right now. They are so cheap, so easy to just tack up with those little stupid command strips, easy to come out, down. It can really make a difference. The other option, kind of the meditation, the Trataka concept is you could do some moon gazing too, or candle gazing, you know, inviting in light that is more introspective. The moon's energy is more feminine, more cooling, yes, but it's still light and it's reflective of the source, which is of course the sun.
Nice.
I like that idea.
Thank you. I like that.
Yeah. All right, Jacqueline, you're up. What's going to make your holidays challenging?
Affording it. Oh my God. Organizing. It's getting darker. That's a big problem. And missing people that aren't with us because of distance or they've passed away, and that for whatever reason the holidays come up and I'm immediately mourning all of these people that I've lost or can't be with.
Yeah.
I think I see why Jacqueline identified with me trying to fit it all in, because I feel like Jacqueline's trying to fit it all in too.
Yeah.
Physically
Yeah.
and everything else.
Well, and this is where that strategy of what do you want to keep, what do you want to let go of, and what needs to be tweaked, because a lot of times we take on work that needs to be done, even if it's not our work to do. So getting clear on your values, getting clear on your resources, not just financial, but energetic, but emotional. All of those resources have to take a role here. Does that make sense, Jacqueline?
Yeah.
That maybe there's some things that you can delineate that not going to happen this year, or that you can delegate, right? Does it have to be done? Does it have to be done now? Does it have to be done by me?
Yes. Yeah. Those are good questions. Can you please text them or email them?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I want you to either grab a piece of paper or grab something that you can write down on, because I have a couple of thoughts that I want to just take through some slides, right? So what makes the holidays challenging? Okay, so here's the question. Are you drawn to hibernate or to activate? Right, so just consider, are you drawn to hibernate? Are you drawn to activate? Are you drawn to connect or disconnect? And are you working from a mind frame of abundance and love versus scarcity and fear? And if there is obligation and duty, that is not love. Now, the challenge with these simple questions is not so much in answering them, but it's in deciding whether or not that answer is based on feelings or based on values? Does that make sense?
Can you say that again?
If you're choosing between hibernation and activation, is that based on an expectation, or is it based on your values? Is it a habit that perhaps served you at one point, but is not in alignment with where you are today? Your resources are different today than perhaps they were even just a year ago. And that in terms, again, not just finances, but energy, access, time. These are things that we don't have control over in the purest of sense. We can choose how we invest, but that takes an intentionality, a mindfulness. And if nothing else, I want you to take some time to figure out what choices you have. It's in those choices that you're going to feel empowered and much more capable of saying no to the things that aren't yours to do, asking for help, whether you have to ask 100 people to find the one who's has the capacity to help you, or you never find someone who can actually help you, but you get clearer and clearer about what you need. That in itself is a win, right? It means that we have a hole in our circle of support, right? So any thoughts on those perspectives?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that explains why I don't feel supported a lot with my family and why I probably pull away from them even more. Like I try to go forward, but then I pull back because I don't feel supported.
Yeah. But it's important to remember too, do you really want to be a part of the energy that they're doing? It's hard to be excluded. But when they're not really offering you something that is a gift, that is a contribution to help you live better, it's actually wiser to not have that negative draw than it is to have to learn to live without it.
And
Because-
apathy is
So
negative.
shitty.
Yeah. What's that, James?
That makes me feel so shitty about myself, though. It feels like I'm giving up on them.
No, because reframe that, James, because what you're doing is you're accepting them for who they are. This is what Darren Main says we need to do, right? In the sense that when we stop putting our expectations on our family, we free them to be who they are. It's like expecting our dog to learn how to do the dishes. We're going to be disappointed forever.
I just
Think about it, right? Right. So 3 tips, and this is just basically, you've already heard all of this, but I just want to layer it on, then I'm going to let you go, because I'm not interested in just surviving, but sometimes that is as good as we can get, and that is key. But the more that we can just hone in on the basics of our self-care practice, the more we're going to be prepared to actually thrive, even if it's incremental, even if it's, fleeting in its frequency, those little glimmers, right? So 3 things: breathe, move, and rest every single day, right? You got 10 breaths to breathe, 10 joints to move, rest by gazing at the sun or gazing at someone you love, send them metta, loving kindness, whatever it might be that is defined as restorative for your being. Okay? That might be 10 jumping jacks. I don't know what you need, right, James? In the sense of moving your body. Yes, move, but your rest might also look a little different because you're balancing into restoration, not relaxation, which might then move you to binge eat or consume something that you don't want to do. Right? Make sense? So number 2, start each day or task with 3 to 5 breaths, right? So every time you shift, the simplest way to slide this in, whether it's walking through a doorway, whether it's showing up at your in-laws' house, or before you enter the Zoom room, take 3 to 5 breaths. Give yourself that attention first. Practice moving slowly. Reminds me when Jacqueline said, I drank my coffee very mindfully. Just one thing throughout the day that you do mindfully can change the entire attitude of the day. The earlier that you do that, generally the better. But James, like you shared with me earlier, sometimes delaying that habit of the first morning cup of coffee a little later can feel like a huge win. So defining what you're going to move slowly through is a big part of getting that plan in place. Make sense? Prioritize sleep, especially because, yes, our neurological system is responding to the darkness, right? So honoring that sleep, honoring the circadian rhythm is one of the kindest things we can do to prioritize our self-care. Secondly, share the joy. This doesn't have to be a financial burden, right? Sending someone a love letter. Delegate what does not have to be done by you. Ask for help, share household tasks, meal prep, and maybe when you're making your wish list, you ask for things that you really honestly need, whether it's hired help to clean, a meal plan delivery, whatever it might be. That think about where your joy is stifled and how can you ask for something to help alleviate the burden. And explore the idea that less is more. There is never a better time to recognize that connection and experiences that are shared are the real gifts. The gifts of our attention will win out every single time. And lastly, practice gratitude. I talked this week in story time about how the precursor to gratitude when it's easy is thankfulness. But thankfulness is a feeling. And if the feeling is not there, how do we move to action? And that's really the whole point of having a clear intention. That clear intention hijacks the brain and the body to move beyond the feeling. When the feeling shows up, it's like that extra burst of energy that gives you purpose. But choosing to act out of compassion, choosing to act from your values is the victory. The feeling becomes the sprinkles on top. So try smiling. James, I have to call you out here. The other day in practice during our closing and even the opening, I could just see this very soft Buddha smile on your face. And I don't know if it was intentional or if it was passive and just showing up, but it was the most beautiful expression I've seen in so long, partly because I get very little time actually, in a group session with practice. But to see you in that space of introspection, eyes closed, and the gentlest, softest smile on your face just filled me up. And that's the beauty of a smile all the way to laughter yoga, right? In the sense that it feeds us and anyone who sees it is going to be lightened as well. So it's not an accident that lightened has this dual connotation, right? The sunlight and this lightness in our spirit. Bust out your journals, my friends, whether it's a gratitude journal, whether it's a thankfulness journal, whether it's just a journal of free writing. It gives us a place to start to see what might be coexisting in our space. And it's been proven over and over and over and over again that when we write in a way that is looking towards hope and positivity, we feel that hope and positivity. We can make more hopeful choices, wiser, kinder choices. So we start just by writing. And then in a good space, we can review that writing and see whether or not we're coming from our story of victimhood, our story of the perfect child or the perfect spouse, those expectations, that's not rooted in love, right? We want to talk to ourselves and each other as much as possible from that place of love. Send thank you notes. Maybe don't even send them, just write them, right? If you don't think they're going to be received in the intention that you want them to receive, it's okay to just write them. It's still going to be setting that meta tone. And the granddaddy of them all is how can you reframe this from love? And that's really what I'm talking about when I give my family permission to be assholes. When I give them permission to not have to tell me, right? Or in the sense that what they are able to give, when they give it freely, that's really what I want. I don't want them to be doing it out of obligation and duty, right? And I can give a gift of attention, even if they don't repay that gift, but only if I free myself from the expectation, the attachment to the response. So here's your tips: breathe, move, and rest a little bit every day. Share the joy and practice gratitude. And that's all, of course, so that you can breathe deeply, move freely, labor lovingly, and live vibrantly. This is an awesome time to clean the slate, to clean the garage, to set the tone so that when January rolls around, we're ready to begin again with clarity of purpose and compassionate feelings about the life that we're building, the life that we're living. So what is now may be the same, but what is your greatest challenge to implement these kinds of strategies to help you live mindfully in the next 30 to 60 to 90 days? Yeah, Chrissy.
You wrapped everything up. It's finding the light.
And allowing that lightness, you know. But again, we can only know lightness by also knowing its complement, the groundedness, the darkness. These are complementary. And learning to ebb and flow, this is why all or nothing doesn't work. We have to be able to move through. So Jacqueline, you've got your pencil, your pen. Does it have to be done? Does it have to be done by me? Does it have to be done now? And that order is reversed. I usually go, does it have to be done? Does it have to be done now? Does it have to be done by me? And if any of those are a no, then that's your answer. And
That one about does it have to be done now can be a really big tool of procrastination for me. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna like lose my life if I don't do it now. So
but that's a good point, right? Is this life or death? And the question that I learned years and years and years ago from the Stephen Covey, Franklin Covey program planner was like, is this going to make tomorrow harder? So think about it. If we skip, breathe, move, rest today, is tomorrow going to be harder? Probably not noticeably. But if we do that enough days in a row, yes, tomorrow will be harder, right? So that's the idea, is that if it's going to cause more stress to fit this into my day today, then the benefit, then certainly it needs to wait. It's not an A priority, it's a B priority, right? And so having some sort of, you know, I use the thumbs up, the la la la, and the thumbs down, kind of just a simple gauge of, is this important enough for me to stay up a little bit later and get it done? Or is my sleep more important? And we're always making choices. But when we know what our key value is, when we know what our key objective is that's based on those values, it's that determines the threshold. Is this my work to do? Does it need to be done now? Does it need to be done by me? And there's a caveat in there as well, in the sense that all of us tend to lump things together. And this practice is also going to help you to tease them apart. Recognizing that you want to have a holiday party doesn't mean it needs to be planned by you, doesn't need to be, it means it needs to be catered by you, doesn't mean it needs to be hosted in your house. So what are the negotiable components that will still accomplish the main objective, which is always love, by way of connection and an opportunity for authenticity? Yes? Even in a family that we are the oddball out.
I like that we're all oddballs.
Yeah.
In one way, shape, or form. In all in
Well,
different.
and truly, Chrissy, that is it, because the oddballness is our authenticity. We are all oddballs. It's when we try to dampen that oddballness to fit in that we lose our authenticity, because then it's not belonging, it's fitting in.
I wanted to point out something about the thank you notes. So Peter and I used to make so much fun of the other people at my work for sending out these e-cards, and we have like this weekly meeting and people will like send themselves kudos or kudos to people on the team.
Yeah.
And we would just ridicule the hell out of them. And in the last couple of months, I started doing that as well. I would send a little, put something on the OneNote for us to read in the meeting for kudos. And it makes the people so happy to receive it that I'm doing it more and more often now. And I'm like, Peter probably thinks I'm so stupid.
Well, I can
But
speak for him in this, in the sense that what he's mocking is the sense of obligation or duty, or when they're doing it to get praise for doing it.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that as well. Like as soon as I give someone else kudos, they'll immediately reply back with something to me. And I'm, okay, this doesn't feel real now. But
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So that's a really good example, right? In the sense that, well, I was telling James earlier, my kid is pissed at me all the time, and she's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't want you to apologize if you don't actually feel it. You know? But yeah, you're being a dick. So you do owe me an apology, but not if you don't feel like it yet. You know what I mean? But she's not there. So anyway. I hope this has been helpful to give you a little bit of a starting point to recalibrate. I know that there's a lot of energy, a lot of great things that have been accomplished in the last 6 months, but also there's a lot of things that have been pushed off that now are coming to have to be dealt with, right? Chrissy, you wanted to say something?
I was going to comment on James about the kudos. The new company that Matt works for, they call their HR department people and culture, and they really are people first. And the name of the company is called Cody, and so they called them Kodos. And they have a chat, like Slack chat, that it's all about giving kudos. And Matt was featured in on right at the end of last week. So
Nice.
if he allows me, I'll send that to you guys, because it's really cute. They asked him a whole bunch of questions. So I think it's so cool that his company does that. The other one didn't do anything like that. So
well, and what you're identifying too is that sense that what is the cultural undertone, right? It kind of goes along in the sense that if I have to write my own performance appraisal and my supervisor approves it, that culture emanates to this idea of I have to constantly put myself out there to toot my own horn, when real wellness, real collaboration and community comes when someone authentically expresses gratitude and appreciation. Not because of what it's going to get them, but because what they want to give freely, lovingly, without attachment on some return, right? So when it comes to gift giving, that's right. When it comes to gift giving, your attention, your honest, compassionate attention is the best gift you can give, whether or not they recognize that or not. And if they really would rather have something that is expensive, they're not really your friend, right? If they'd rather have something that is a facade, a performance, they're not really on the same playing field with you. Or as Brene says, quoting in the sense, they're not in the arena. They don't deserve to have access to criticize, to judge, because they're not committed to the same values that you're committed to. And that's not their fault. That's not something they have to apologize for. It's something that we have to harness and say, not this, right? Neti, neti. So that we get clearer about what matters to us. Give our attention to what matters. And in doing so, you'll have plenty of time to receive from those who feel that way about you. So with that, thank you so much for allowing me to meet with you tonight, rescheduling on a short notice. I appreciate that. And as always, the priority is always there for us to take care of ourselves. And I appreciate you for allowing me to do that, even as an inconvenience to many of you. So thank you. If you need my attention, please reach out, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate all of you.
Appreciate you too.
Good night, guys.